તમારું થોડું સ્ક્રીન એડજસ્ટ કરી લો એક જ મિનિટ. જય સ્વામિનારાયણ બધાને. સહજાનંદ સ્વામી મહારાજની જય. બાપા શ્રીની જય. સદગુરુ શ્રીની જય. સ્વામિનારાયણ ભગવાનની જય તથા અનંત અનાદિ મુક્તોની જય. A humble prayer in their lotus feet and our Guru, Anadi Muktraj Param Puja Narayan Mama and Leela Masi's lotus feet, to augment this assembly with their divinity and grace, and to enhance our knowledge and guide us towards them. Last week there was a very good question on monotheism versus polytheism. I answered the question to the best of my ability, but upon further thinking, I realized that my answer, though correct, was not complete and all-encompassing. Inspired by Lord Swaminarayan and Anadi Muktraj Param Puja Narayan Mama, I was reading part 3 of Amrut Sarita 2-3 days ago and found the complete answer. Sometimes even if we know the answer, we forget it, and that's what happened to me. The way Anadi Muktraj Param Puja Narayan Mama has explained it is that when one is unified with the Supreme Lord Swaminarayan, then nothing else matters. And therefore, there is no other God. It does not mean that other categories stop existing, but the devotee or the mukta is so engrossed in the bliss and the murti of Supreme Lord that others cease to exist from his perspective. For the devotee of Moodakshar, there is the Moodakshar they worship and many other such Moodakshars, and the immanent and transcendent form of the Supreme Lord and the Mukta of Supreme Lord. So whether they know and agree or not, they automatically live in a polytheist world, and henceforth for all subsequent categories. As we discussed in the very first satsang, one should have an unflinching devotion in one form of God. So while we share the knowledge as imparted to us by the great ones, our intent is not to break or damage anybody's faith or belief in their belief system. Our intent is simply to share the knowledge of the greatness that is out there. And if they worship the form that they worship with the feeling and knowledge of greatness, then they will eventually reach that greatness. So that was the complete answer to the question that was asked last week. My answer last week was partially complete. So with that, let's now continue our journey forward. Last week we started walking through stage 6 of the hierarchy and covered plants, animals, humans, deities, demons, 14 worlds, and the Trinity. One of the things we talked about was the theory of evolution and how spiritualism says that humans were created as they are. And science talks about the theory of evolution. We also talked about varying degree of atonement for violence against a living being based on how evolved they are. So let's look at this a little more closely this week. Within religious community, there seems to be no disagreement about God creating humans. In the scientific community, the opinion is split. Some scientists believe that evolution happened on its own by some magic, and some believe that God created evolution. So, in scientific community, they all believe in evolution, but some say that it happens on its own, and some say that someone or God created evolution. Let's look at both the approaches in terms of mathematical probability. To quickly understand probability, probability is a chance of an event occurring. For example, if we flip or toss a coin, there is a 50% chance that it will turn up heads and a 50% chance that it will turn up tails. Mathematicians try to explain evolution with a very simple example of evolution of a 8x8 chessboard from black and white squares. Everybody knows a chessboard, alternate squares of white and black, 8 rows and 8 columns. So initially there is an empty space which needs to be evolved in a chessboard. Mathematicians have determined that the possibility of getting a chessboard through a random process is 1 in 18 quintillion. So million is 10 raised to 6, billion is 10 raised to 9, trillion is 10 raised to 12, quadrillion is 10 raised to 15, and quintillion is 10 raised to 18. So the probability is 1 in 18 quintillion for the evolution to succeed. And this is just for an 8x8 chessboard. If evolution of chessboard was guided by an intelligent process, the possibility to create a chessboard is 1 in 5,000. And if there was someone all knowledgeable, knew everything like God, and if God created chessboard with a bird's eye view of the chessboard, then it can be created in 16 attempts. The probability is 1 in 16. And of course, the evolution of the world is much more complex than creating a chessboard. It is believed that DNA evolved from RNA, RNA evolved from TNA, and TNA is a combination of 5 types of sugars mixed in a specific order. The genetic code evolution is too complex, and 4 billion years, which is 10 raised to the power 9 into 4, are not enough if evolution happened on its own, based on the probability theory of evolution. And even if we don't understand probability, it's enough to understand that mathematically the evolution could not have happened on its own. So even if God did not create human beings directly, He definitely created evolution. If God did not create evolution, there is no way we would exist today. If there was no guiding principle, if there was no God's hand in the process of evolution, human beings would not have evolved from a microorganism in 4 billion years. So having established that even if God did not create living world, like the non-believers say, He definitely created evolution. The next step is to observe the world that we can see. There are patterns everywhere, from large to small. We saw that in our very first satsang as well, that there are patterns everywhere. For example, a tree branch structure, the streams and rivers as seen from the sky, veins and arteries in our body, lightning, all have a similar structure. But then not everything is formed with that one structure. There are other structures and there are multiple patterns. Someone must have decided how each pattern would evolve and play its role in the universe and life. Someone must have decided which parts of the body will follow which pattern. Someone must have decided which part of the landscape will follow which pattern. The theory that everything did not happen on its own is called theory of irreducible complexity and intelligent design, and theory of patterns in the creation is called Constructal Law. For those interested in knowing about this further, I have included a couple of links on my slides today. So when I send the presentation out, you'll receive it. And that will be a good starting point, and then whoever is interested can research further. But in a nutshell, it seems like in the scientific world too, more and more theories are emerging to show that someone or something created the universe and the life. Not only that, there is a small set of scientists who believe that even our ethics are predefined by someone and wired into us. In the recent years, the brain chemical generally discounted as related to childbirth has gained more visibility. Oxytocin is related not only to childbirth but also to ethics like love, compassion, trust, etc. When we trust someone, our oxytocin level goes up, and since it is also a feel-good chemical, we feel good when we interact with people we trust or love. But how did oxytocin come about? Did someone create it? One question that is slowly being asked now is, did God create our ethics system, or was it really a moral evolution? So moral evolution is a theory that is believed in the scientific world today. But now they are questioning that. The second question that the scientific community is now asking is that what tells those 7 million billion, I think, atoms in our body to stay together and not drift away? What tells each atom what it is supposed to do? What combines the atoms to form a tissue to form organs, organs to form a system, and systems to form a body? Irrespective of whether we came through process of evolution or we came directly, what holds our bodies together today? If there is a force field that does that, who created that force field? And how does it determine whose body should be formed, when, and how? And science is just about beginning to ask these questions. So all in all, there is a belief forming gradually that there is a higher governing power or a set of rules that created us, our ethics, and the universe, and still continues to govern it. Some scientists believe that the entire universe and everything inside it is living and exhibits life-like characteristics. There is a theory of biocentrism that says biology should replace physics in explaining the universe. Many biologists say that Great Barrier Reef in Australia, that's the great coral reef that can be seen from space, is the largest living organism. Some take this concept even further and believe in the theory of cosmological natural selection, which says that just like evolution of life, even rivers, mountains, earth, and universe is also alive and evolves, mutates, has a heartbeat, and so on. The heartbeat of a universe in existence like ours is maybe once every trillion years when new galaxies are formed. Heartbeat of a nebula maybe every few billion years when new stars are born. Some say that the heartbeat of a universe is the Big Bounce. Big Bounce is a combination of a Big Bang, Big Crunch, and another Big Bang. So, universe is created through a Big Bang. Then it stays in that state for some time. Then it collapses in a Big Crunch. And then there is another Big Bang. And this whole process is called the Big Bounce. Some physicists speculate that the spiral clouds of dust spanning many light years across is the DNA of the universe. Now that is pure speculation, but it's a belief. So what I'm trying to bring out through all this is that just as there is a process of evolution in the living world on Earth as we know it, and there are organisms at different levels of evolution, likewise, there is a huge, big, living world up there at different levels of evolution. Even some of the scientific hypotheses and theories are now talking about it. It will not be surprising if a few years down the road, science comes back and says that there indeed are different levels of evolution above ours. Essentially come back and say that there is a hierarchy up there too. Now let's look at it from one more perspective, the perspective of brain capacity. An ant's brain capacity is much lower than humans. But the collective intelligence of an ant colony of 40,000 ants is the same as that of humans. In fact, we have already adopted this concept since supercomputers are expensive to build. One alternative is to create a closed network of many computers whose CPU capacity is merged together to act like a supercomputer. So the concept of hive intelligence is already being used. With this increased computational power, we are now able to understand weather patterns, world's social emotions, etc. So with this new understanding of weather pattern, we believe that it all happens due to jet streams and high pressure and low, etc. But we still do not know what guides these, what forms tornadoes, how are hurricanes formed, why does East Coast get so much snow and California faces a drought? Who decides that? Maybe when our computational power increases further, we will be able to see that these are all governed by some principles that we did not understand earlier. So sorry for that digression, but coming back to brain capacity and hive intelligence. So just as a collective intelligence of ants can equal a human intelligence, likewise, can collective intelligence of human equal intelligence of the Creator? And some scientists say yes. So there is a emerging technology called quantum computer. Quantum mechanics is the physics and laws around very small particles like photons, fermions, bosons, and the laws of quantum mechanics are different than the laws of physics that govern the larger world. A quantum particle, like a photon, can behave as a particle and as a wave. We will talk more about quantum mechanics in coming weeks, But for now, let's understand the concept at a high level. Due to its dual nature, a quantum particle can be in two states at the same time. So in a standard computer, we have a binary digit, so it's either 0 or 1 or a yes or a no or on or off states. And there are only two digits, so it's called binary digit or a bit. In a quantum computer, it's called a qubit, and it can have states of 0, 1, and both 0 and 1. So in a quantum computer, the switch can be on or off, or on and off at the same time. With this concept, the possibility of computations and artificial intelligence become immense. With invention of quantum computer, so there is one that has already been created. So with invention of quantum computer, the new theory that has come up in the recent years is that universe actually has a quantum brain. So if the concept of quantum computer sounds a little complicated, just know that there is now a thinking in the scientific world that universe has a brain. Based on the guesstimate of visible quantum particles, so each quantum particle can act as a quantum bit or a qubit. So based on the number of quantum particles, it is believed that universe can compute 10 to the power of 106 computations in 1 second. Humans can compute 10 to the power 16 computations in 1 second, and that also only when we use the full capacity of our brain. Most of us use only 10% of our brain capacity. Those who use 15% of brain capacity are called genius. But if we used our complete brain capacity and used our collective intelligence, it can scale up to the intelligence of the universe. But just as there is not just one human being, but many human beings, and collective intelligence of 40,000 ants maps only to one human being, but there are many such human beings. So the belief says that there are many universes and each has its own intelligence. And this is based on just the visible things that we are able to see and perceive. Not only does the universe have computational capacity that is greater than us, but some scientists are toying with the idea of a reproducing universe. Some believe that our universe is an offspring or a child of another universe. When a dust cloud starts forming a star system, or when a star explodes and forms a new star system, the cooling of the gas into solid mass is done by carbon monoxide. Carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen are the building blocks in organic chemistry, and they are in abundance in nature. They are the top 3 or 4 elements in the nature. Given that these are all very abundant in the universe, there is an emerging theory or hypothesis that universe has ensured its own fertility by having the building blocks in abundance. The survival of the fittest concept exists even at that level. So to summarize our discussion so far today, there are emerging theories in science that show that universe was created by someone, we were created by someone, our ethics were also created by someone. Universe and everything in it has intelligence. Universe and everything in it can reproduce. And that there is a possibility of an altogether different evolutionary world up there with multiple levels of consciousness. And anything and everything that we see has life. In Hindu philosophy, it is said that mountains, rivers, earth, water, oceans, wind, sky, deities, all have a form and are living. During the Kurma avatar or the Kach avatar, Lord Vishnu sought help from Mandrachal or Meru Parvat as it is called sometimes for Samudra Manthan. So Mandrachal has a human form. Mandrachal and Ganga are known to have spoken to Lord Shiv. Himalaya came to Lord Swaminarayan for liberation. So everything that has a life, everything that we see has a life and a soul in it. Anadi Muktrat Param Pujya Narayan Mama used to say that even if a Mukta eats just one fruit of a tree growing on a mountain, then all the souls, starting from the fruit and its seeds to the mountain itself, get liberated. In fact, when Lord Swaminarayan was physically visible on the earth, the saints were tasked to give Vartman to 5 souls every day. If they could not find human beings, they could give Vartman to trees, animals, rivers, lakes, etc. Also in Hindu philosophy, there is a mention of evolutionary hierarchy up there that we cannot see. So we have already started talking about that. So that was some mapping of the latest scientific findings and theories to Hinduism and to the belief in God. So let's continue forward. One question last week was, where are these 14 worlds that we talked about, that are created by Lord Brahma? As we discussed, these are in dimensions that we cannot see, and the principles that govern them are also different than ours. However, there are places on Earth or in Earth's orbit which could get us closer to either a portal to those worlds or to those worlds themselves. We had taken example of Badrikashram, Kailash and heaven. There are similar places worshipped by the locals in Peru, Rome, etc. These places are in the subtle worlds, not visible to us, even if we go to those locations on this earth. The relevance is that there either is a portal or a proximity to those worlds from those locations on earth. We will have one satsang especially on size and dimensions of all strata in the physical world in coming weeks, so we'll talk more about it at that time. Let us now look at some stories and beliefs in Hinduism and map them to some emerging scientific and astronomical theories and hypotheses. A lot of this could be considered speculation, since there is no clear data available scientifically or spiritually as to what really happened or where these worlds are. But nevertheless, the correlation is quite interesting and helps establish that there is some truth to whatever is written in the scriptures. In Hinduism, we have 15 days of Shraddha around August or September. Chinese have a similar concept of ghost festival on the 15th day of 7th month. Since their new year falls in January-February time frame, their ghost festival aligns with our Shraddha time. Shraddha is done for the Pitris or the ancestors, and their deities live in Maharlok. So maybe at that location in Earth's orbit, we are close to Maharlok or close to a portal to Maharlok. Again, as I said, this is all speculation. Let's look at a different story. There is a theory that Moon used to be a planet that formed very close to the Earth. Then in a massive collision, either between Earth and Moon or maybe a huge meteorite struck one of the two and they collided with each other. But what happened was, with that collision, the Earth and the Moon both transformed. Earth continued to be a planet, and Moon became its satellite. In Shiv Puran, it is said that Moon was cursed by Prajapati Daksh for mistreating one of Prajapati's daughters, that he will gradually diminish and die. So that was the curse, that he will diminish and die. Lord Shiv came to rescue and said that to honor Prajapati's curse, Moon will wax and wane, but will not completely die. So prior to that, there used to be a full moon every day on the earth. The only way a full moon every day can be explained is if the moon was orbiting around the sun with its orbit close to Earth, orbit cycle time exactly the same as Earth's orbit time, and was on the dark side of the Earth. So the moon used to be a planet and was going to die due to curse of Prajapati, but was revived as a satellite. It is interesting how the present day findings map to this story. There is a growing belief, especially after Mars rover landing in 2012, that there used to be life on planet Mars. There was water and rivers flowed on the planet. Recently, I think in last 1 week, CNN released a report that even today, there is a possibility that water streams form on Mars in one season and then disappear. There has been a theory that Mars once had life, but was struck by a meteor or a comet and lost its atmosphere and water. Recently, considerable traces of xenon have been found on Mars. Xenon is found only when there is a nuclear explosion. So something happened to life on Mars. The dating of that incident, as given by scientists today, is about 65 million years ago, which is around the time that dinosaurs went extinct on planet Earth. I'm not sure, 65 million years. It coincides with that time. Sumerians, who believed that Anunnaki genetically engineered humans and came from Mars and the 12th planet which was destroyed. So in those cultures there are 9 planets, the sun and moon, which makes it 11, and there used to be the 12th planet which got destroyed. Now in Shiv Puran, there is a mention that when Lord Shiv cut off Lord Ganesh's head and refused to bring Lord Ganesh back to life, Goddess Parvati was very angry and threatened to destroy the creation. When Lord Shiv did not listen to her, she destroyed one world. Lord Shiv still did not bring Lord Ganesh back to life. So she went ahead and burnt the second world. Lord Shiv still did not bring Lord Ganesh back to life. So she prepared to destroy Earth. That's when Lord Shiv stopped her, brought Lord Ganesh back to life with an elephant's head. Now if we put 2 and 2 together, maybe the belt of asteroids is the destroyed world by Goddess Parvati, and Mars is the burnt world, and Earth was spared. Mars and Earth both fall in the Goldilocks zone of the Sun, and belt of asteroids is at the border of that zone. It is also said that Lord Shiv cut off the head of Lord Ganesh due to a curse by Kashyap Rishi. So Kashyap Rishi is the father of the deities and demons. The sun was becoming too powerful and arrogant, so Lord Shiv killed the sun. Since the sun was Kashyap Rishi's son, Kashyap Rishi got very upset and cursed Lord Shiv that the way he killed the deity's son, he will behead his own son someday. After the curse, Lord Shiv then brought the sun back to life and explained to Rishi Kashyap that the sun had become too powerful and arrogant, so he killed the sun and brought him back to life in a smaller form. Interestingly, physicists today believe that our sun is the second or even third or fourth generation of a much bigger star. A much bigger star existed here which went supernova, and from what remained a new star system, our solar system, was born. Otherwise, there is no way we would have had so many minerals and heavy metals and precious metals on Earth. Germans have come to respect Sanskrit language and scriptures more than Indians. That's very unfortunate, but that's the truth. I once worked for a company that had offices in Leuven, Belgium, and Aachen, Germany. These are both university towns. It was about a couple of hours of drive between the two offices, so I used to drive back and forth when I visited. Along the way, I would see signs for Aachen University, and education has always been my passion, so I wouldn't miss the opportunity. So with the help of one of my co-workers and an intern student, I managed to visit the university and their library. The collection of Sanskrit books that I saw there, I have not seen anywhere in India. Now I'm sure there exist collections of Sanskrit scriptures in India, but I have not seen one. I saw one in Germany. The Germans have come to value the old Sanskrit scriptures and literature quite a bit. It is believed that during the time of Hitler, Germans studied Hindu Sanskrit scriptures very deeply, especially those around Viman. Viman is a flying object. The space travel in US was made possible in the post-Nazi days by one such scientist from Germany. His design of spacecraft looks very similar to the design of Rukma Viman in Hindu scriptures. So in Hindu scriptures there are 4 types of Vimans that are described. I don't recall the names, but Sundara, Sankara, Rukma, I can't recall the 4th name. But it is the design of the space shuttle is very similar to Rukma Viman. So the scriptures have some validity in it, that based on the designs mentioned in the scriptures, you can really create a space shuttle. Along those lines, many ancient scriptures talk about wars waged in the sky. This is a reality today. We also saw last week some archaeological evidences to support Matsya Avatar story. So from all these mappings, we can determine that there is truth to these scriptures and the stories that are mentioned in there. It is just that due to the scale and magnitude, as well as lack of technological and intellectual advancements, we are not able to comprehend those scriptures well. But from whatever we have been able to figure out, some of the stories have now started making sense, even if one calls it speculation. Based on this, we can say that there must be some validity associated with other stories as well. It is just that the scriptures are written in an all-comprehensive and symbolic language. Therefore, we cannot understand them clearly. Just as we established that there has to be a creator who created us and universe, there must be someone who operates the universe. We saw last week that Lord Vishnu is responsible for operation of the universe. We talked a little bit about 4 universal forces last week. The 4 forces are the electromagnetic force associated with light and magnetism, weak force associated with radioactivity, strong force associated with nuclear power inside the stars and within the nucleus of any atom, and the gravitational force associated with gravity. These 4 forces have to be in balance for the universe to exist. Scientists believe that if any one of these forces were even off by a fraction of 1%, the universe as we know it will not exist. So who continually maintains this balance? Someone must be doing that on an ongoing basis. Lord Vishnu maintains this balance for the 14 worlds created by Lord Brahma. Now, Lord Vishnu is said to have had 10 avatars or incarnations or manifestations in some scriptures and 24 in some. The 10 avatars are more popular and we will stay with those during our course. We will not go into the details of each, but let's list them. It's the Matsya avatar with the half or a full body of a fish, touch or Kurma avatar with the body of a tortoise, Vara avatar with the body of a boar, Nrsimha avatar with the body of a lion, Vaman avatar born to Aditi, so Dev, but a dwarf human form, Parshuram born to one of the Saptarishis, Rishi Jamdagni, Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, Lord Buddha, and Lord Kalki. Of these, first 5 were not in complete human form. The first human form was with Parshuram, but it is called a partial manifestation or Anshavatar of Lord Vishnu. All these 6 avatars are manifestations of the Lord Vishnu of the Trinity. We will look at the others in a little more detail as we move forward. We established credibility of Matsya avatar as it is related to us, the human beings, the descendants of Manu. Kurma avatar, Vara avatar, Nrsimha avatar, and Vaman avatar are more associated with deities and demons. We have not found anything supporting yet. Maybe we'll find it someday. However, there are evidences found for Lord Ram's bridge to Lanka, Lord Krishna's Dwarika, and Lord Buddha is also pretty well established. So based on that, we can safely say that other avatars must also be true. Coming to cleanup or destruction, we saw some validity of things mentioned in Shiv Puran along the way. One of the things I wanted to touch upon was the black holes. Earlier, black holes were a myth. Then the physicists researched and agreed of a supermassive black hole at the center of every galaxy. Now scientists believe that there are many black holes in a galaxy and they are varying in sizes depending on how many stars they have eaten. A black hole is formed when a massive star gets destroyed. Sometimes that star or the remains of the star after explosion collapse into something so dense that even light cannot escape. It is believed that in our universe, there is one black hole being formed every second. There are billions of galaxies and each has many stars exploding and forming black holes. These black holes then keep roaming in the galaxy, eating more stars and planets on their way. Maybe it is the power of destruction that we talked about. Maybe it is the effect of Lord Shiv, and we have one for the 14 worlds. Since black holes are varying in size, their cause might also be different. So black hole is the effect, and their cause might be different depending on their size. Once again, this is speculation, since no accurate data is available on these things in the spiritual and scientific world to map it. So last week we talked about many polytheist and monotheist religions and looked at the hierarchy under the trinity of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiv. This week we supported some of the stories and incidents in the scriptures with some real and some speculative theories and observations. Last week we also saw that there are limitations in the levels that we have looked at so far. So next week we will transition into Vairaj Purush, 24 elements, Kriya, Ahankars and Mahatattva. Let's pause here today. I ask for forgiveness of the Sabha for any mistakes or shortcomings. Jai Swaminarayan to everyone. Parag bhai, over to you.
જય સ્વામિનારાયણ. બધાને અનમ્યુટ કરું છું. કોઈને કઈ પ્રશ્ન હોય તો 1 મિનિટ. હા, અનમ્યુટ કર્યા છે બધાને મેં, એટલે કોઈને કઈ પ્રશ્ન હોય તો.
જય સ્વામિનારાયણ બધાને.
જય સ્વામિનારાયણ. જય સ્વામિનારાયણ.
જય સ્વામિનારાયણ. રામનાથ ત્યાં બધાને.
તો પરાગભાઈ પછી આપણે સદાસર નું બધું વાત કરીને સ્ટાર્ટિંગમાં.
હા, એટલે મેં જસ્ટ વાત કરી છે કે આજે એમ ત્યાં હતું ને ત્યાં સુરતમાં લોકોએ રાખ્યું હતું.
હા,
એટલે આમ તો લગભગ બધા ઓળખતા છે.
એટલે જસ્ટ બધાને બ્રીફ આપવા માટે કે ભાઈ લાઈક વધારે મારું વિદ્યાનગર હું ગયો ને તો સદાસર ને ત્યાં જયારે ઉપર હોલમાં એમ કે હું સાંજની પ્રાર્થનામાં જતો હતો એ રીતે વધારે ને વધારે એકદમ જ આવું જ છે કે પૂજ્ય નારાયણ મામા ને તો નાનપણથી ગાંધી કુટુંબને લઈને બધા આપણે એમ દર્શન કર્યા ને બધું કર્યું હોય, પણ જે મહારાજ પ્રત્યે અને મામા પ્રત્યે અને બાપુશ્રી પ્રત્યે જે નોલેજ સાઇડ પર થોડું જે પણ ઇન્ટ્રોડક્શન થયું કે જીતુભાઈ વ્યાસને હું ત્યાં મળ્યો કે જે પણ બધો કોન્ટેક્ટ થયો ને એ આઈ થિંક ઇટ્સ પ્યોરલી બીકોઝ ઓફ સદાસરની સાથે રહીને જ એ બધું થયું છે એમ. એટલે આઈ ઓલવેઝ કાઇન્ડ ઓફ he is my guru in that sense. અને સદાસર કેટલી બધી વસ્તુમાં એમ કે જયારે સહસ્ત્રાબ્દી મહોત્સવ હતો તો સહસ્ત્રાબ્દી મહોત્સવમાં એમ કે ત્યાં રહીને સેવા કરવાનું ઇન્સ્પિરેશન પણ એમને જ આપ્યું હતું. આઈ સ્ટેડ ફોર ઓલમોસ્ટ 1 month એમ. અને ટુ એન એક્સટેન્ડ એમ કેવું હતું કે એ મહોત્સવ જે એમ કે અમે ક્રેડિટ સિસ્ટમમાં હતા, એટલે ઇટ્સ વેરી ઇન્ટરેસ્ટિંગ. અમે ક્રેડિટ સિસ્ટમમાં હતા ને તો maybe you can stop recording it. This is out of discussion.
Yeah.